All right, well, I knew it was coming. Trailer for Morbius is out, so let us take a gander at it.
Michael, I've known you since you were a child.
Oh, he was so abused as a kid.
You always have.
I can't remember if that was part of his backstory in the comics or not.
You'll find it. I should have died years ago. Why am I still here if not to fix this?
I feel like I should mention I'm not a big Jared Leto fan. That might impact my feelings on this. Ooh, it's a bat.
You're up to something. What is it?
It's not exactly legal.
I don't want to see you get hurt more than you already have.
I mean, I've got nothing to say because it's fairly generic, but it's also competent, what I'm seeing so far, so... Okay!
At what cost?
Alright. They were really gonna cite... Yeah, cite Venom. That makes more sense.
What's happening?
I went from dying. I feel more alive than ever. Increase strength and speed. The ability to use echolocation. And an overpowering urge to consume blood. How far are we allowed to go? To fix something that's broken.
Is that Matt Smith?
Until the remedy is worse than the disease.
Michael Morbius. That's how to do the whole good guy thing, huh?
What's that guy?
Okay, you caught my attention with that closing bit. If you're going to put Michael Keaton in, especially if he's going to be playing the Vulture, yes, you have my attention. So, props to them for that. Because other than that, there's an inherent problem with trying to do Morbius, especially as an origin, which is that ultimately he's just going to end up a vampire. And we all know what vampires are. So, I think I'm hoping for the film's own sake that the sort of stuff we saw, you know, the buildup of, oh, he's got this disease, he's trying to cure it, is one of two things. Ideally, it is done as flashbacks, or it does not eat up more than 20 minutes tops. Because if they stretch out this, ooh, what's happening to him? Ooh, something has happened, but we're not sure what it is, like half hour, 40 minutes, longer than that, it's going to get real dull real quick because we all know. And this has always been one of the weird things about Morbius. He is just a vampire. That's just what he is. He just became one by a different mechanism than is usually the case. He's a science-created vampire as opposed to a mystically created one. So, but ultimately, for all practical purposes, he's a vampire. I remember that actually used to bug me. Like, I think the first time I encountered him, you know, because he was Morbius the living vampire. And I remember getting really annoyed because I was trying to figure out how being a living vampire made him any different from a normal vampire. And really it doesn't. Like, technically, he's not undead, which I suppose is why he's living. But for all intents and purposes, he's just a vampire. So, stalling it out, if the film stalls it out and delays that for as long as the trailer makes it look like, that's going to be dull. That being said, given that the character is not super widely known outside of the comic book fandom. And even among the comic book fandom, he's not exactly a top-tier character. There's a validity to presenting the trailer this way, and, building to it and have folks realize by the end, oh, it's a vampire movie. Okay, it certainly works as a trailer. So it's just a question of how representative of the film in terms of the pacing is the trailer. Because if the film either messes around with time through flashbacks or condenses that front end a bit more so that we can get more interesting stuff on the back end, well, that is, that could work. And that would just mean that they built a smart trailer. Given that I don't remember the last time a Sony trailer was particularly good, though, like in terms of really properly selling something and not giving too much away, I'm hesitant to hold out hope for that. And also, that being said, I would say, no, not even odds. I'm saying 3-1 odds against that the Vulture cameo is not in the body of the film, but it's a post-credit thing. To set up, like, Sinister Six or something. That would be awful, but I'm going to put it on the record now, just in case I'm right. Because it has happened on occasion. And most studios, I would say, would not be dumb enough to do that. Sony, yeah, they actually would be dumb enough to do that. So, I mean, they practically did that with Venom. I mean, not with the post-credit, but like they showed more or less the last scene of that movie in the trailers before the thing came out. So, yeah, Jared Leto, I mean, you don't get a ton off for the trailer. He's just kind of there to look the part, and he does. Jared Leto, as much as I don't personally care for him all that much, I don't think he's a bad actor. And even the times where I've seen him that I didn't like him, about the worst that I could say is he was either given a poorly written character or was probably given poor direction. Because the performances themselves usually aren't the problem. I can pinpoint something more fundamental. I mean, it's hard to know who to blame for the Joker from Suicide Squad. He probably bears a bit more of that than might be the case in other things. But, like, I didn't especially like him in, say, Blade Runner 2049. But ultimately, that's because I didn't like the character. I didn't like the way the character was written. And the fact that it happened to be played by Jared Leto wasn't what made it not work for me. And he played it about as well as I thought that character could have been played. I just didn't think the character was a good call. But he played it fine. So, even though I said I don't really care for him, I don't have a massive grudge against him. He's just never really done much for me. I am a little bit annoyed because we had the leaked image previously of the vamp face, which I kind of like that they're going for the classic Morbius look with the upturned bat-like nose, like basically making him more ugly. Because Morbius has been redesigned a few times over the years, including making him a little less monstrous, and I'm kind of like that the design is leaning more towards the classic, very unattractive version of Morbius. I actually support that. I'm cool with that. But the thing is, that still image, that leak, looked really good. And I actually said over Twitter, I'll be curious to see what it looks like in motion. And we saw it move a little bit, and I'm like, oh, it's CGI, isn't it? At the very least, that in that trailer, that shot, that looks like a CGI overlay. That doesn't look like practical, which is disappointing and makes me nervous as to how it's going to pan out in the body of the thing. But, I mean, we'll see. If this thing can keep to a non-indulgent runtime, like this has got to be under 2 hours. I would say hour 45 tops. This should be a lean, brutal vampire film. That's what I hope it will be. And to be almost anything else risks just being boring or self-indulgent or both. So, I suppose we'll see. Trailer wasn't bad. Didn't light my world on fire. I mean, I did laugh when the vampires, went for his hand. Or not the bats went for his hand. But, that was just because of the absurdity of it. But honestly, if it wants to lean into that, if it wants to be that kind of absurd, kind of like how Venom in its best moments was that kind of absurd, I can have fun with that. That's a viable option too. Embrace the insanity, but if you're not going to do that, go lean and trim and brutal. Or maybe even find a way to balance both. Who knows? Morbius, first trailer. It's out. I'm sure you've seen it. Well, you would have now, like, down the thing while I was watching it if you didn't see it before. So, what'd you think? Let me know. And then, come on back again next time you need a break.